Welcome to the MusicNut program. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining me today. And welcome back to the latest edition of a new show here on the MusicNut program, The Live Cut. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be joined by two of my good friends here. You may know them from our collaborations on Grant's Rock Warehouse. To my left, when I'm looking at the screen, I have none other than BM Boldt. BM Boldt, welcome to my show.
Good to be here. It's my first time on your channel.
And it won't be the last, I guarantee it.
Good.
And with his second appearance here on the Music Nut program, or John the Music Nut if you prefer, Ernesto Ramos. Ernesto, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John, for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on. So today we are going to talk about a live album that doesn't get enough love. And I thought of this one on my own, and it would only seem natural that I would reach out to BM Boldt and Ernesto on this. This is one of our finest guitar players, a legend in Ireland, whether you're talking about his work with other bands like Skid Row or Coliseum 2 or Thin Lizzy or BBM or his solo career. Few guitar players brought it like Gary Moore. Today, we're going to talk about Gary Moore's 1993 live album, Blues Alive. Now, Blues Alive was recorded in 1992 on various stops of the After Hours tour in the UK. This was Gary Moore's most successful period commercially, particularly in Europe. He would get a gold album out of this in the UK. This album would hit number 8 on their album charts. This album would also go to number 14 in Australia, number 18 in Norway, number 31 in Germany, number 40 in Sweden, number 73 in Australia. It did not chart in the United States. However, his two previous studio albums, Still Got the Blues and After Hours, respectively. There you go. And as a matter of fact, yeah, and I have those albums as well. They're part of this 5 album set, and which is an interesting set because you got After the War,
Yeah, good one.
which is when he was more in his hard rock heavy metal phase, as
Yeah.
well as Run for Cover. And then on here we have the third CD is Still Got the Blues, which is probably his most successful album here in the United States. We got After Hours, and we were talking about this one right before we hit record, Blues for Greenie. So, this album came out in May of 1993. We have 13 songs on here. 10 of these songs are from the Still Got the Blues and After Hours albums. We have one song on here from his Back on the Streets album, which may be his most famous song. And we have two very oft-covered blues songs on here. Just to let you know who played on this album, we have Gary Moore on lead guitar and lead vocals, Tommy Iyer on keyboards, Andy Pyle on bass, Graham Walker on drums. We have the horn section of Martin Drover on trumpet, Frank Mead on alto saxophone and harmonica, Nick Penelo on tenor saxophone, Nick Payne on baritone saxophone. We also have Candy McKenzie and Carol Thompson on backing vocals. So, Byron, I'm going to turn it over to you. When did you first when did you first become familiar with Gary Moore's work?
I hadn't heard of him until I went over to a friend's house and he had just picked up Victims of the Future.
Okay.
So that was and that had just come out, and that was the first time I'd ever heard him, and I was like, wow, this guy's pretty good, And then I just started having to buy everything, I don't have everything, but I had everything up until a certain point, and I got a
Right.
stack of stuff here of things you'd be like, why does he have all this? But whatever. So that's when it started for me, was Victims of the Future.
Ernesto, how about you?
I think it started when I was going through a phase of less metal, and then I was just reintroducing myself to blues because I was in a blues phase. I was
Mhm.
listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, I was listening to Johnny Lang, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, all these young guys.
Right.
Of course, after Stevie Ray Vaughan died, everything changed. The game was open. And so here comes Gary Moore, changed the whole game, man. Literally changed the whole game. And that's when I got into that blues phase with him and stuff. And man, it just took off. So,
It certainly did. And I knew him in the 80s. I knew he was a hard rock, heavy metal guitar player. I did a series on Thin Lizzy on this channel earlier this year. I didn't know anything about Thin Lizzy back then in my teenage years. But when I was 19, they were playing Still Got the Blues on our album-oriented rock radio station, Rock 107 WEZX, EZX Ave, Scranton, Pennsylvania. That was when I got into them, and it was a long time before I bought this set that I put up here, but I heard his stuff, you know, semi-regularly throughout the years in various places, like sometimes on Touch Tunes jukeboxes, just through passing, listening online. As I've gotten older, I've gotten more and more into his music. I picked this up about maybe 10 years ago from Amazon.
mm,
And I bought this before the 5 CD set that I showed here. And I could see why he really struck a chord here in America with these albums because both of these blues albums are really dynamite. And they got a great mix of originals and blues covers on here. And Gary Moore was, as we've talked about off screen, he could do it all as a guitar player. Yeah, he just had this very distinctive tone and very strong singing voice, I would say, as well. So, Byron, you want to start out with talking about Blues Alive?
Sure.
All right, thanks.
So I actually don't own a physical copy of that anymore. I did have it on my hard drive. I got rid of a bunch of stuff years back, and I'm willing. Actually, I was at a record store the other day, and I saw a copy of Blue Live Blues on cassette.
you
Okay.
It's
bought
like,
it.
I don't buy cassettes. Like, no, if it was CD, I'd have snagged it. Um, but it was a cassette, so I did not get it. Um, but yeah, so let me talk a little bit about it. I'll talk about Gary a little in general too.
Sure.
Gary plays with a lot of fire and emotion. Some people might think it's a little too over the top for blues if you like more of the old school uh, Chicago blues, like Albert Collins, Albert King, B.B. King. Gary's got a lot more fire to his playing. It's a lot louder too. But I'm more of a British blues guitar fan, so I really did kind of dig this. Like you had mentioned, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Ernesto, he really kind of made the blues popular again in the 80s. But then he died. I don't remember if he died prior to this, Gary's first blues album, or was right around the same time, wasn't it? Pretty close. Might have been
Pretty
right.
close, yeah.
It was in 1990, and I know Stevie Ray Vaughan died August 26, 1990. I'm
Yeah, so
gathering.
it was right around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in some ways, you could say Gary kind of picked up that rock and blues mantle, or whatever I'm looking for here. He
Right.
kind of picked it up, the
Yes.
baton, and ran with it. But that, Ernesto had said it, and that just kind of opened the doors, though, for a lot of other young guys that just started coming out of the woodwork. Even older guys that you hadn't really heard about, like Ainsley Ellis, Jimmy Thackeray. These are all guys that
Oh, Jimmy Thackeray.
they're all kind of from that same cloth,
Mm.
Walter Trout. So I think, these guys may have never gotten some of the notoriety they've gotten without Stevie and Gary Moore. But anyway, kind of going off on a tangent here. But Gary made a lot of live albums prior to this too, back in his rock days.
Mhm.
So, but he didn't really do many live albums from the blues period. And there's some posthumous ones. One thing I'll say though is that I wish it some of these live albums, the live things in the videos that I've seen, I wish he would have kind of mixed up the tracks a little more. I feel like he kind of covered certain songs a little too, or played them a little too much in his set list. As we get to the songs, I might mention something about that. I'll be honest with you, I would prefer his blues originals. I think he's got some really good blues originals. The covers are fine, but I'd rather him do his originals.
I'm with
All
you.
right. So I can get into the songs if you want, or you want to
Really?
Okay. So yeah, so it starts out with Cold Day in Hell, which is a Gary track off of the After Hours album, which
Yep.
talked about. And I think that was the first track on there. It's aggressive blues with a lot of horns, and he's got some female backing vocals on it. Gary's got some great smoking guitar solos on that. Now, yes, this really sums up Gary's blues style, this track right here. Great way to start the show. The next track, Walking by Myself, which I don't know if Jimmy Rogers wrote it or if he covered it. I think he co-wrote it and also performed it.
Yes.
That was the third single from his Still Got the Blues album. Yeah. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, Gary really stretches the intro out on this with some really good aggressive licks. I used to actually play this one in the garage, in the basement with some guys. I knew, because it was a pretty easy, good track to play along with.
Right.
That's a pretty decent track. But I'll be honest with you, that's one of the ones that it's like I got kind of tired of hearing Gary play it. Because he would play that a lot, even 20 years later, it seemed like. But he was probably dead in 20 years or nothing. Yeah, he played that a lot through his blues period. Next track, Story of the Blues. I mentioned this the other night on Grant's show from 1992. It's my favorite Gary blues track. Off the After Hours album, slow blues with horns, and what a solo. I mean, Gary's just pouring his emotions out on it. It starts real slow and he just keeps building and building and building and moving up the neck. It's just one of my favorite solos of his as far as blues it goes. Oh Pretty Woman, AC Williams track. It was the first single off of Still Got the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Aggressive blues track, kind of like Cold Day in Hell. It's got that same kind of feel. Some more great solos. I got the actual 12-inch single of that.
Oh, nice.
I've never even opened it. it's a poster. And I've never even broke the seal on it. But
are you sure that's not a Freddie King song?
I've got it written down. AC Williams wrote it.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think it was covered by. Didn't Albert do it as well?
It's considered an Albert King song, but then you look at it, it says it's considered Albert King, but then it goes back to Freddie King. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing about the blues tracks. It's like it's hard to even know who sometimes it's some unknown person did it originally,
right?
But who made it famous originally? It's hard to say.
That's true.
Next, fifth track, Separate Ways. This isn't the Gary original. This is more of a ballad than a blues tune, in my opinion. It's got a real R&B feel to it with a lot of the keyboards and the backing vocals. I really dig it. I got the CD single of that one.
Oh, there you go.
And all these if I'm showing you these CD singles, the reason I have them is because there's unreleased tracks on them. But I believe that some of the reissues of these two studio albums have a lot of these as bonus tracks on them now. So
they do. They do.
But yeah, this had Only Fool in Town, which I think that was on the album, but You Don't Love Me Live and The Stumble Live. So
yeah. those are rare tracks. You don't hear
I
them.
digress, but yeah, I really like though the separate ways. Gary's very restrained and melodic on it. It's got kind of a empty rooms feel. If you guys know
Yeah.
that track.
Right. Nice.
So the next track, Too Tired, Johnny Guitar Watson. I know Johnny from he played with Zappa a little bit here and there. I have one Johnny Guitar Watson CD. Um, this one's featuring Albert Collins in the show live.
Yes.
It's a fourth single from Still Got the Blues. I might even have a single of that in here somewhere.
Well, you're loaded.
Ryan is
There it
low.
is. Too Tired.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's got Oh Pretty Woman live, Texas Strut, which was on the first album, and then Cold Cold Feeling live with I think Albert Collins plays on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are we on? Yeah, Too Tired, right?
That's right.
Swing tune with a lot of horns. Gary's got a killer solo again on this. But once again, this is one of those songs I think he would play it on every show that I would see for the next 15 years, live shows. And it's like, play something else, Gary. Then we get Still Got the Blues. So technically probably his biggest hit, at least
Right.
as far as in the US for sure.
His most famous.
Yeah. It's popular with figure skaters too. My wife knows it from watching ice skating.
Really? Oh,
And
wow.
I've seen it too before where I don't watch much ice skating, but I've seen people perform to this track.
Wow.
It's got a real Parisian walkways feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Uh, just very similar style. Thing is, to me, this is very, very similar to the studio version, which is fine. I mean, it's a great track, but I felt like it's just, and the same with a lot of the songs on here. I feel like a lot of them stick pretty much close to the studio versions.
Right.
Next track, Since I Met You, Baby, from After Hours, kind of a swing blues tune. BB King played on the original studio version of this on After Hours. I like it, but I've never really loved it.
Gotcha.
And it was one of Gary's originals, but I just thought, it's not too bad, but I didn't really think it was great. Next is Sky is Crying. I'm going to say Elmore James wrote it. I know I know he did it.
Yeah.
You made it famous first.
A lot of people did it. A lot
Yeah.
of people did this one.
Yep.
It was a B-side from this. I think they Still Got the Blues single, which yes, right on here. It's on the B-side of this Still Got the Blues single.
More.
Yeah. Bring them more. Get them more.
That's right.
Give me more.
It's on that. Left Me with the Blues is on here. That's a rare studio version. And then further on up the road, a version of that as well,
Yeah.
which is actually going to be on here. So yeah. So this version is a lot longer though than the studio version that he released. It's got a real long, quiet part during the middle of the song, which Gary's just kind of doing some real soft noodling. It's fine, but I think it would have been better if he would have maybe shortened it up a little bit.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm being critical here, but anyway, the next track is Further On Up the Road, which you just mentioned how Gary had done it as a bonus studio track. And, I think I'm most familiar with Clapton doing this. Clapton would play this a lot.
Right.
And, I know Trower did it. Which album, Ernesto?
Oh, oof.
I'm not
might
sure.
have been
I
Caravan to
wouldn't
Midnight, maybe something like that. I know
Maybe.
Trower did it,
Maybe.
but
Actually, you know what? I think you're right, Byron. I think it is Caravan of Midnight.
we should do some Trower some night. Anyway,
Yeah.
Cool.
it's got a nice organ solo in it, and then there's a section where Gary and the keyboardist, can't remember his name off the top of it. They kind of do some alternating. They kind of share trade licks back and forth, so that's pretty good. Next track, King of the Blues, is another Gary original from Still Got the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
This one he wrote about Albert King, so it's kind of a tribute to Albert. Rock and blues tune. I really have always liked that. And I wrote down great soloing from Gary. Well, you can say that on every song.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, King of the Blues has always been a really strong song, I thought, his. Parisian Walkways is up next. Gary's biggest hit, I think, overseas. Didn't
Yes,
do
it's
anything
number
here.
8 hit in the UK, I believe.
Yeah, it was. This was released as a single for this album too, so
Okay.
you know it's a great version if it was released as a single.
Right.
You know that melody is so good. You know Gary's real restrained on this track, but he slowly builds up to this climax. You know, and he really kind of cuts loose toward the end. That's just what he would do. He could just build up all this emotion in his solos. You know, it's one of Gary's best songs and performances. Like we said, it's very similar to Still Got the Blues,
Yes.
but this one came first.
Right.
They're both great tracks. So the last track on here then is Jumping at Shadows. Um, this was written by Duster Bennett and from After Hours. Now, Duster Bennett was a kind of he's an English blues guy. He did a lot of one-man band type shows,
Gotcha.
but he was friends with Peter Green, and Peter and Mick Fleetwood backed him up on his debut album. He had a few albums, but he died in like I don't know about 75 in a car crash. He was like 29. It's a real relaxing, slow blues song I've always liked. Fleetwood Mac used to do this live too. It's on like that Live at Boston show. I think there's a
Okay.
couple versions on it, and I think it's on their Live at the BBC as well. So if you've not heard that, you should check it out. I didn't show all. Here's my Story of the Blues CD single.
Nice.
Walking by
Byron's got them all.
Bengal. Another. I think I got two versions of the Still Got the Blues CD single because they got different bonus tracks on them. I got one, a couple of things here. So I don't have the album, but I have this.
Hmm.
This is
Gotcha. Okay.
this
What?
is called Live Blues.
Oh, which one's
Okay.
It's a
that?
VHS. So okay,
Oh,
this was recorded on the same tour
right.
as the album we're talking about. This was recorded at the Town and Country Club in London.
Okay.
So it's all one show. You've
Right.
got BB King on two tracks on here. He's not on the live album, right? It's
Right.
just, but he's on two tracks on here.
Right.
Now the video, this video has "Thrill Is Gone" with BB King and "Stop
Right.
Messing Around," the old Fleetwood Mac song, which I think was a bonus track on "Still Got the Blues." He did it on. He also did it with Phil Lynott live back in the '80s, and it's a
Right.
B-side of something. I don't think I have that, but the video is missing Parisian Walkways.
Yeah.
But this is really good. If
Is
you
Nice.
that
haven't seen it.
sealed? Is that sealed?
No, but it's still got the shrink wrap on it.
Oh, okay.
I got another one last. Have anybody seen this?
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
This was recorded on the Still Got the Blues tour.
Yeah.
So this really leans heavy on the Still Got the Blues album since that was his only blues album at that
Right.
point. It's got a lot of it's got some of the B-sides though on it, and they also do a version of Caledonia with
That's right.
Albert King and Albert Collins, which is I don't think on anything else. It might be on some B-sides somewhere, but
That's
really
a that one. That's a good one because it's never been released on DVD, but it has been on Laserdisc.
okay. Yeah,
I was
I don't know that much about it, but yeah.
I was like, I wish it was on DVD. That's a good one.
So that sums up that era. I mean, I talked about that earlier. That's
Yeah,
as
that's a
much.
good one too.
This has got this has have the '90 tour, so with the Still Got the Blues. It's got a performance from that tour. So that's kind of cool. So you know, we're talking about that '90 to '92 period. That's all I've got. You've seen all of my
Well, you don't have too much, right?
Yeah.
no, like I said, I don't have the album that we're talking about. But I do have the video of the same tour.
There you go. How would you rank this album on a scale of 1 to 10?
You know, I loved it when it came out.
Okay.
Years later, like I said, I kind of God, he's too tired and walking by myself and got kind of burned out on a couple tracks on it. But I would give this. I'm gonna go maybe an 8.5.
Okay.
I wish he would have kind of done a little more. When I want to see some blues, hear some blues, I want to see a little more improv as opposed
Yes.
to just pretty much doing it straight from the album. He does a little bit of that here, but I think he could have done a little bit more, change things up a little bit. So
Okay.
let's go 8.5.
All right. Thank you so much, Byron. Excellent. So many props too.
Yeah, he does. How do you follow
But
up
you
on
knew
that?
that was
That's so
coming.
hard.
What's that?
I said, how do you follow up on Byron when he did
Yeah,
such
I
a good
know.
job?
Ernesto,
You don't want to follow me on Zappa or Gary Moore, apparently.
yeah. All right.
Well,
Ernesto.
so this is the Japanese version because I wanted the best quality you can get.
Okay.
So this is the Japanese one. And the booklet has a bunch of pictures in it. It's pretty cool,
Same with mine.
and then it comes with the lyric sheet. It's pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Has
Yeah,
all the
Japanese
lyrics.
always give you the lyrics.
Yeah, because you got to know what he's singing about.
Did they translate them very well, though?
Well, you got your phone. Your phone can translate anything nowadays, but it has them in English too. So. But anyways, I had to get it in a better quality because the original was like so worn out. But I also have a copy on my hard drive, and then I have it on a streaming service. But it's not the same. You got to hear it. And the great thing is they do have it on vinyl, but I'm kind of afraid to get it on vinyl. That's why I got it on CD because of the fact that it's compact and take it anywhere. Um, so let's just start off with a couple of the tracks because Byron did an amazing job. I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much that you and I can add to
Not really. No, I
I didn't
mean,
spend a lot of time talking about these songs in general, other than showing showing the singles.
that. You
no,
got
that's good. That's good. I like
you
looking
did a
at
great
that
job on
stuff.
the songs too. It's just like
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
you did.
By the way, so let's start off with Cold Day in Hell. That's a good song. Now, understand that Gary Moore's voice is all that. It's really raspy. It's really like they say it's called what do they say? Like a volcanic voice. It's very uh gritty. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's what they say about him.
Right.
Cold Day in Hell, punchy, very swagger grit type song, nice tone. Horns, I know the horns. A lot of people don't like horns. I'm one of them. But with this album, I could tolerate it. It's okay. I'm not a jazz guy, but with horns and blues, I guess I'll accept it.
Good combination. It is.
Yeah, I guess you can accept it like that. Other than that, it's totally different. I don't like it for prog. I don't like it for some jazz. I don't. I hardly talk jazz anyways. But anyways, so Cold Day and Hell's a good song, but Walking by Myself, that's a blues shuffle. The soloing is really tight. Classic blues energy, modern flair. Boom. Story of the blues. Gary Moore stretches it out here, letting his guitar cry. Long, aching bends. Stands out. It's classic. Okay. Then you got Oh Pretty Woman. That's the cover. Okay. That is sharp phasing right there. Driving rhythm section right there. Classic tune right there. Perfect. You got Separate Ways, slower song, vocals are raw as always. Guitar feels personal, very confessional right there. That's a real personal song. You got Too Tired, Albert Collins, perfect. Very electric, very icy response with the warmth and the fire, classic. Then you get to Still Got the Blues. Still Got the Blues. A lot of people don't know this, but Gary Moore got sued for that song because they said that he didn't write that song. And there was a big court battle for that. I don't know if you knew about that, but
Oh,
he got sued for that song. And they went all the way to court and everything, and he lost. Sadly, he lost that. I don't know what
You know
happened.
who it was?
Huh?
You know who sued him?
I don't know who it was. I don't remember. I just read about it that he got sued. It must have been somebody that's not that big, not a very popular person or famous. But they were getting them because the song was too original to what the other person wrote. It was really tight. It was like that. It was like, it was weird. It was just, it kind of sucked because, it really like made him a little depressed and stuff, and it just drove him down. And we already knew he was a heavy drinker,
Right.
so it kind of sucked. But I still like that song. It's very soulful. Moore's phasing out and the notes and everything. It's just a great song, but you know, it is what it is. Since I Met You, Baby. That's a short ballad. Just the vocals are great, delivery, the restraining of the guitar. That's classic right there, Gary Moore. And you get to The Sky Is Crying. That's the classic masterclass slow blues. You got Moore soloing in and out, echoing that James song with his own twist. Perfect. Then you got further on down the road. That's a blues rocker. That's tight, full of swagger on that one. Full of swagger. Classic. King of the Blues. Now that's Gary Moore's song. That's an anthem. His voice is all over that place. The licks are everywhere. Perfect. Then of course you get to Walkways. That's legendary song. You will hear that, right away that's Gary Moore and Phil Lynott song. The crazy thing about it, he holds on with that note for 30 seconds. I don't know if you remember, Byron. He holds on to that note and it goes on and on. It's just holding on. It's constant. It's crazy how he does that. And everybody's just hanging on, listening to that note, and nobody complains. You don't hear anybody complaining. Man, that's feeling right there. That's emotions. So, love that song. Then you got Jumping at Shadows, the closer. Ghostly song. It's just very, what would you call it? It's very reflective of a type of song that Gary didn't write, but just haunting. Very classic. And I love it. I love it. I love it. Great performance. The whole album was great. I can't add any much to it because Byron added enough. So, it is what it is.
How would
I
you
should
rank this one out
should
of
let
10?
you go first.
Well, I love this album no matter what. I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because of the horns get to me a little bit. I'm not a horns guy, so I really don't like horns that much. But other than that, it's a great album.
All right.
You
Thank
know,
you,
I,
Ernesto.
I'm going to add a little something here.
Really?
You know, I I think maybe Gary leaned on some the song like when I was complaining about like Too Tired and
Right.
Walking by Myself. I maybe he leaned on those songs a lot later because a lot of his other stuff had horns in it, and I don't
Right.
know that you could play some of these like Cold Day in Hell without the horns.
Right.
So later in his career, and it was just like a 3 piece or whatever, 4 piece. He didn't have horns, so maybe he's like, well, I can pull off Walking by Myself and Too Tired.
Right.
Those are more of the guitar tracks. So maybe that was part of it.
Makes sense.
And one
Yeah.
other thing, you brought up that lawsuit. I Googled it. Well, yeah, he got sued by a German band and
Mm.
he lost the lawsuit. And the band was called Jed's Gallery.
Judd's
Oh, wow.
Gallery. Yeah,
Jed's Gallery. And the song is called Nordrock,
Wow.
Nordrach. I'm going to listen to it later tonight. I got it up here
Yeah,
in,
yeah, check it out.
in
there you
YouTube. So
go.
I'll be checking it out later tonight to see what I think.
It's one of those lawsuits that don't make any sense because you remember when Led Zeppelin got sued and they were like getting sued for I forgot what song, but that lawsuit just kept going and going from the guys from Spirit, remember? I
Oh, that
couldn't
was Stairway to
find my
Heaven.
lead. Huh?
It was Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, you remember
Well,
that?
Zeppelin stole a lot of songs. So.
Well,
Well, I
yeah,
know, but then they were kind of admitting that they didn't steal it. I'm pretty sure Gary Moore didn't intentionally steal it, but
Sometimes it just happens
yeah,
randomly, you know.
I think it does. I think they just hear it one time and it sticks to your head. But that's how Gary's music is, though. Sometimes you hear classic songs from any of his albums and they stick to you. You know what I mean? They're always in your head. They're just great.
I had read once a long time ago that someone said that Parisian Walkways, that melody might have been lifted from a Dusty Springfield song.
hmm.
I
Really?
don't know which one, but I was trying to look that up today. I couldn't see anything about it, but
Wow.
it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Go
Does.
ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, Ernesto. There's not much more I can add to this. Just a few things that I wrote down. And Byron, I agree with you. I, as far as it sounds a lot like the studio albums due to songs from Still Got the Blues and After Hours, right down to the backing vocals, right down to the horns. I still really enjoy this album, but I do notice that when I listen to this and I go back to the solo albums, Cold Day in Hell got played a decent amount here in Pennsylvania. I love the bridge on that. I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to add a little to what Ernesto and Byron said. I'm going to try not to repeat too much, but Cold Day in Hell is a really cool tune. You could see why this hit radio. Walking by myself, that's more of a shuffle, and that's very, very cool. Story of the Blues. And I listened to this a few more times after you, Byron, talked about it last Monday night when we did our favorite 10 tracks from 1992 on Grant's Rock Warehouse. Check it out if you haven't already, folks. And yeah, this is fantastic. The horn section on here is just as important as Gary to me. Some of these songs, it's like the horns are very, very important. You can't do it without these classy horns. And like you had said later on, when Gary was going out as a trio or with a quartet, he's playing the songs that don't need the horn section more. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But Separate Ways, when I listen to this song, it reminds me of George Benson's R&B period.
Mm.
Remember when he went R&B and he went really mellow and there was a lot more focus on that voice of his than his guitar tone? Like, this is, for those who don't know George Benson, he started out as this wicked jazz fusion guitar player. Excellent guitar player. He was the first guitar player to play with Miles Davis. He played on he played on a song on the Miles in the Sky album. But he was more jazz fusion, and as time went on, he became more of an R&B artist with the Breezin' album. And then he started having hits with This Masquerade and Leon Russell's song and Give Me the Night and Turn Your Love Around. By that point, he was more R&B.
Right.
This has that same feel like, but when he sings a ballad, does George Benson, it sounds like what Gary Moore's doing here on Separate Ways.
Right.
Their voices are different, of course, but it's in that same tone and spirit. And I really like this track, and I really love the backing vocals on here. And the keyboard adds a lot to it as well.
Right.
Very
So,
moody.
I'm sorry?
Very moody.
Absolutely. A very, very moody track, but it's what's the word I was looking for? It's a mood setter. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yes. Yeah, but it's is it time to go our separate ways? So it's kind of a one last
Yeah,
fling. Maybe it's a one last fling mood setter.
yeah, one last go around. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, still got the blues, of course. This would be the song that I heard the most on rock radio back in the early 90s. This is a classic. And again, we got a great bridge on this song again. That lyrical guitar line from Gary on this song, I mean, it just brings you right in. Fantastic. Since I met you, babe. What's going on?
Uh, no,
Since I
we're
met
just
you,
listening
baby's
to
more
you,
upbeat.
John.
What are you guys doing?
No, we're just listening to you.
Okay.
Yeah. I had made the remark about, well, you had said something about the great I don't know, guitar melody, and I said, well, from Jed's Gallery.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
That's what I was laughing about.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So since I met you, babies, more upbeat. A lot of great call and response here between Gary and the backing vocalists. Very, very strong, great guitar work on here. As always, The Sky is Crying. When I first heard The Sky is Crying, it was off of George Thorogood Live, which came
Right.
out like 85.
Everybody does it.
Yeah, now, yeah, everybody does it. Yeah, but he did Sky is Crying. I think it was maybe the last song on the album. It was like that album came out in 85 or 86, and it's been covered by Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan. In
Stevie
fact,
Ray.
a posthumous album from Stevie Ray Vaughan was called The Sky is Crying. This is a wonderful version of it. I love the way Gary sings this track as well.
Right.
And further on up the road, or it was also called Farther Up the Road, Eric Clapton covered this on at least two live albums. EC was here in just one night, and he played this with the band on the last waltz, the last concert of the original band from Thanksgiving Day in 1976. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's probably the version that I am the most familiar with because I've watched that movie so many times and I'm a big
Right.
fan of the band. But this is a great version. Also, King of the Blues, of course, that's for BB King. That's an excellent track. Priestley Walkways, originally recorded with Phil Lynott and Brian Downey from Thin Lizzy. This was on the Back on the Streets album. Wonderful version. Yeah, it sounds like a prelude. It's still got the blues. And Jumping in Shadows, we're ending the album on a moody tone here, very solemn. Excellent closer, very strong ender to a wonderful live album. Gary Moore's Blues Alive. Okay, Byron gave us an 8.5. Ernesto gave us a 9. I'd probably go 8.5 as well. And there is the VHS version that Byron has one of probably 25 copies in the United States. So let me ask you guys, Byron, are you a big fan of the We Want More live album?
Yes. If you were to ask me what's my favorite live album is, I mean, I got the live. I got We Want More. I got. He did like three or four of them in the '80s, right? Ernesto,
Yeah.
is that what red one? It's well,
The live at the Marquee.
live at the mark. It's also live at the marquee, right? It's
Yeah.
two different covers. One covers red, and the other's picture
Yeah.
painting him. And then the We Want More, and then
The
Rocking
Japan.
Every Night,
Yeah,
Night in
Rocking Every Night
Japan.
in Japan.
Yeah, but give me We Want More. You know why? Because he's got like this 10-minute version of Shapes of Things where
Yeah.
he
Yes.
just destroys. But go ahead. That's my answer.
Ernesto, what would be, are you a fan of We Want More other live albums that Gary Moore has in his
I would pick besides this one.
yes. Yes,
I would
besides
pick
Blues Alive.
Rocking Every Night, the Japan one.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if either of you heard the latest live album that just come out,
I haven't heard it, but
I
I
haven't.
want it. I want to
Good.
get it,
Cool.
but uh I don't know if Byron has.
Uh, we know what year that was then? Uh, 2009-ish, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, because well, he passed in '08, right? Or is it
That
10?
was 11.
Okay, my bad. I passed in
Yeah.
11.
All right. I think it was 11. Yeah.
52. Okay. Okay. All right.
So
So,
here's the crazy thing about that whole tour, the Blues Alive tour. So he played at Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles, May 25th, 1992, Hammersmith Odeum, June 8th, Paris, June 13th, and the Royal Albert Hall, October 5th. Those are the dates that they recorded this. Now, the crazy thing about a lot of people don't know is Gary Moore hated flying. He never came back to the States after this.
hmm.
He had a fear of flying. He never wanted to after this concert, after this tour, he never came back to the States.
So when he went back out with a smaller band, he just strictly stayed in Europe.
In Europe, yeah. He never came to the States after
Yeah.
these.
I don't think he ever did come back.
No, he didn't.
BBM didn't come here that I can
Nope.
recall.
Nope, they never came. It was all European states. And remember when he died in Spain a little bit around the time of his tour.
Right. And he passed while he was on vacation, right?
Right. He was on vacation with his fiance, who he was not married. He did not have a will. So the girl that was with him, she tried to claim rights to everything. And then
Mm.
they go, nope, can't do that. He
Went
had
to
no
his
will.
kids.
Yep. So
It should go to his kids.
yeah, it went to his kids. The sad thing is the girlfriend, when they came to pick up his stuff, the girlfriend they just threw her out. She just had to leave. Just like that.
Mm.
It's kind of sad.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it was a sad day when he passed away, man. It was really sad, you know.
So you didn't ever see him when he played
I
in.
wanted to when he came to LA at the Universal Amphitheater, which that place at Hall is not even there anymore. It's removed. I would have loved to have seen him there, man. That was my big mistake, not missing out on that.
And
He
Byron,
never came.
you never saw me either?
Uh, I know he played in Chicago on the Wild Frontier tour. Uh, for a long time, I thought he had opened here in Omaha for Van Halen there was because when Van Halen played here on the uh, Women and Children, no, the next album, fourth album,
Fair
the
warning.
Fair Warning tour, the opening band was G Force.
Okay.
It was a different G Force. It was that G Force was the Gramati brothers. Have you
Oh.
ever heard of them?
No.
They went by G Force and the Gramati brothers.
Hmm.
Oh
I've
wow.
seen their albums. Look that up afterwards.
There you
They
go.
have
Yeah.
an album called G Force as well. For years, though, I thought it was Gary Moore, and
Mm.
I thought, God, I missed it. But then I was told, no, that wasn't his.
Yeah.
Interesting. Gary Moore, Blues Alive from 1993. All of you have been watching. What do you think of this album? What do you think of Gary Moore's music? Are you a bigger fan of his blues albums or his more jazz fusion albums that he did, or his hard rock and heavy metal albums that he did in the 80s? Are you a fan of BBM, Baker, Bruce, and More, the one and done from 1994? Do you like Gary Moore's work with the incomparable Thin Lizzy, most notably playing on Still in Love with You from Nightlife, or of course, the fantastic Black Rose album? Do you like Blues with Greenie, where Gary would cover a lot of Peter Green songs? Peter Green gave or sold Gary his main guitar, his 1959 Sunburst Les Paul. Please let us know in the comments what you think of Gary Moore's music. Byron Ernesto, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for all of your wisdom and all of your props. What do y'all have coming up on Grant's Rock Warehouse or any other YouTube channels?
Um, we got a Zappa Joe's Garage. It was going to be next week, but we pushed it back another week. So that's going to be fun because we're going to do the whole 3 acts of Joe's Garage in one episode.
Oh, sweet.
It's a crazy album, and then I think there's a one and done. We might be doing G Force. Have you guys heard anything? I'll
No,
have to
I didn't.
No.
check. I think we might be doing that the end of the month. I'm not sure if that's set in stone. Um, I know it was brought up as a possibility after the last episode. So I'll find out.
You gotta find
That's all
out.
I've got going, I think, right now.
Okay.
We got stuff on Sydney's channel. Sydney's
The question is
slogans,
when?
rock and metal emporium. You want to see that?
Extravaganza. It's the Emporium, the extravaganza, even.
Don't forget the extravaganza. We got the show that you don't want to miss. Coming soon at theaters near you.
There you go.
The
Just don't.
second best guitarist, the top 5 second best guitarists. We're gonna be doing that show pretty soon. Hopefully, if everything comes through, That'll be one of our shows that we're working on. I've been working on the background with those guys. I haven't had a chance to do a real show other than that. So we're doing that, and we're also doing a Danzig show. Look out for that. And I think we're doing a oh, what were we doing? Oh, I can't even remember anymore, but look out for those shows on slogans.
There you go. I'll have some stuff coming up. I will be putting out a new album after show in the next day or two. Many of you who watch my channel here, John the Music Nut, know that I focus a lot on 1990s bands. I'm going to be doing Green Day's Insomniac,
Mm.
which was the album after Dookie, which was the biggest selling album of Green Day's career. I also will have at least one or two more album rankings in the near future. These two bands are going to be bands with smaller catalogs. July 8th on Grant's Rock Warehouse, I will be part of a one and done with the incomparable Grant Arthur. We're going to talk about the only recorded album during Jeff Buckley's career, and that album is called Grace. So keep your eye out for that. I'll have some other stuff up on the horizon. I got a bunch of ideas. I just gotta put them out there now that I have a little bit of time off. So thank you again, Byron. Thank you again, Ernesto, for joining me today on the live cut on John the Music Nut. Till we see you again, do what you love, and we'll talk to you soon.